Today's episode of Who Weekly is brought to you by the CW. Don't miss the premiere of All American, starring Taye Diggs, Wednesday at 9/8 Central. Welcome to Who Weekly, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know about the celebrities you don't. I'm Bobby Finger.
I'm Lindsay Weber.
And this has been a very big week for me.
Weekend
for me. The two most important moments of my life just happened. So what happened? God, as we're talking, we're getting texts from Steven saying, LMAO, Diane Warren co-wrote Why Did You Do That?
The best song in
history.
history. Of course she did. Okay, before we get there, Bobby had a big weekend.
Yeah, so first of all, I got married on Saturday, which was big.
Yeah.
Lindsay co-officiated, which was big. Second of all, more importantly, which is why we're here today, is that I'm not talking about my wedding.
I mean, your wedding was beautiful and fine, but it really was hard to compare to seeing a Stars. I'm joking.
I know, but you're not, though.
I'm not. No, I am joking. It was.
You are joking, but you're also,
I'm not,
I get it.
But what's great about, no. But what's great about your wedding is that, to me, in my mind, A Star is Born coming out and your wedding are intertwined. So, like, it's like this beautiful, like, weekend that involved, like, seeing, like, the most beautiful movie and, like, having the most beautiful time at your wedding. Like, it was like we sang The Shallow at your wedding. Like, it was the same event.
It's all I ever wanted. It's
true.
It was great.
It's true.
So before the wedding, which you all don't care about, we saw A Star is Born, and so thus begins the final Bradley Cooper Presents a podcast segment is born, starring Lady Gaga, and we can confirm, starring Lady Gaga, not Stephanie Germanotta. What did you think, Lindsay? You go.
I mean, I prepared a speech for this moment. Opens.
Where do we begin?
Oh my God. I was a little worried going into it. It was hyped. You know, our friends wore shirts with their faces on them that subsequently went viral.
Oh, they went so viral. They didn't even go slightly viral.
So all of you who sent us photos of our own friends wearing shirts, yes, we were there with them. We know them.
They were at the wedding. It was funny to see, like, getting tweets like, did you see this? And it's like, yeah, I was there.
Yeah, not only do I see it, I live it. So we, like, sit down, it starts. I'm already, like, emotional, wound up. But then I kind of had to ground myself, like, okay, if this is not good, you have to be prepared to, like, say it's not good and, like, have some, like, dignity? Question mark?
And I think that's sort of what helped get me to a more grounded state. You know, just like the realization that, like, I'm not going to lie about this movie. You know, I was fully prepared to say I was disappointed, or it wasn't it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. I was ready to go that route, but fortunately, I will say it wasn't what I expected at all. Really, it wasn't. It was a different kind of movie than I expected.
Yes, and I also thought it was better than I expected because I had couched myself in kind of this fear that, like, oh, it was going to be, you know, no movie is as good as you think it's going to be, and, like, movies that are often good take you by surprise. So, like, to go into a movie being like it's going to be fantastic is rare. It's usually the other way around. So it's like I'm sitting down, I'm ready to feel, like, excitement. But I didn't expect to feel, like, so thrilled about the extreme care and nuance that this film has. Like, it really does. Like, it really has, like, so many details. And now that I've been listening to the soundtrack, like, for, you know, 72 hours on repeat, just, like, nonstop listening to the soundtrack, which, by the way, has, like, so many more good songs on it than were in the movie. Well, or, like,
so many songs.
Small parts were in the movie, but then, like, the soundtrack has the full versions of them.
And God bless Spotify because they allow you to listen to the soundtrack without the dialogue scenes. Not that the dialogue scenes aren't wonderful, but they sort of interrupt the flow of the music. So you don't necessarily want Dave Chappelle to break up Hair, Body, Face and Why Did You Do That to Me saying, like, I'm worried about you.
But, like,
the first time I'm actually worried about
spoiling the film, which we're not, like, there really is no way to spoil it because it's really, like, tale as old as time. But what I meant by nuance was just, like, Bradley Cooper, for all that we say about him, like, in his, like, weird life, he's just, like, a weird guy to me, a weird celebrity to me. He like, directed the hell out of this. He really found ways to be subtle about things that are normally really hard to portray, which, like, having a pop star who is a pop star play a pop star is, like, really difficult because to her fans will only see her as Lady Gaga. It's really hard to put her in a different light. And people who don't know her will only see her as Lady Gaga. But somehow in this film, her acting ability, his direction, the way that they wrote the songs from when she goes from like being, you know, her down old Italian self, Allie, whatever her original last name is, to like the superstar Allie, is such a progression. The way that she sings the songs, the way that she acts, the way that she performs, it's like there's a huge difference between the two segments of the movie, which is like pre-fame, post-fame. And I just like, that's a really difficult thing to do, and it's done really well.
It was especially impressive to me, Bradley was, the way that he dealt with time really well. Like it wasn't jarring. The sort of, the way that, what am I trying to say? The speed changes in the movie. So the first half of the movie chronicles like a pretty decent chunk of time, but not much. It's going at a slower pace. You're allowed to like see them meet. You let the early stages of their relationship breathe, and then the second half is like beat, and somehow that didn't feel rushed, and it didn't feel
one
hurried.
montage, I think, and yet somehow not only is her career earned, like the kind of career they give her, but their love is earned. Their chemistry, which I don't even think is the most amazing chemistry. I think that they both are doing a good job.
But it's good
acting.
chemistry, and I didn't expect them to have chemistry too. As much as I wanted to like this movie and knew I would like this movie in some way, I didn't expect to believe their relationship, and I believed their relationship.
My only problem with the movie, one of a few nitpicky items, which we talked about before, ended up being, what year is it? You know,
what year is it?
They very purposely don't talk about pop culture, which I like. The only other pop star involved is Halsey. So that's weird, right? Because Halsey's there, so you're like, it's 2018. But you know, in a lot of movies like this, they'll have like her passing Beyonce in the hallway. Hey, Beyonce, passing. You know, it's like these moments where you have excuses to have these guest stars. They did not.
Or that manager character, that agent character would have been like, well, you'll know Beyonce. Like there was none of that.
Right.
There was no forced setting of time.
I loved that character, by the way, too.
Oh, well, that was great because he was kind of he was one of the only characters that was an extreme, and you needed him to be.
But he wasn't a villain because he was saying things that made sense, and I loved that because this movie is so much less about stardom and so much more about addiction and trauma than what I expected, because that's what the original Star is Born is about. It's about jealousy. It's about, what happens when you become famous. This one was really less about that to me. It was more about
the relationship.
Story. Yeah,
it was about the relationship.
Yeah,
and it was definitely more about him. But again, of course, the Barbara one was more about Barbara because it was her movie. This one's more about him because it's his movie. That's why he was so passionate about it, which is not what I expected. But I will say, what was interesting about that villain character is that he was the only character who was. He was sort of this nebulous sort of mashup of a lot of people who probably exist. And if this were a true story, he would be the agent, the manager, the public. He was everyone rolled into one.
Right.
But he was the only character that was like that. Every other character was a very fully formed individual, and he wasn't, because the movie didn't have the space for that many people.
But I also don't feel that we needed him to be fully formed because
exactly.
He was saying the things that practically we were thinking.
He was saying the things that a lot of people would have been telling her, but they had to put it into one character.
And also, as a viewer, he was saying the things that I often was thinking with like this kind of car crash situation where it's like, yeah, her career is crazy and like she's singing, these crazy songs that don't sound like her. But if you want to be famous, then here's what you have to do. And if you train for weeks and weeks with dancers, don't just dismiss them before you go on stage because you feel like it. Like put in the hard work and then like reap the rewards if you want to like have this goal. It just felt like that was like really well written in terms of not being this like weird evil villain that kind of came out of nowhere, said a rude thing and then left,
Mm-hmm. And I still think one of the most impressive things to me about the movie, apart from something really interesting, like all the drag stuff at the beginning, a lot of the opening of the movie takes place at a drag bar, like 15 minutes
which is so well written, by the way.
Which is great. And he let him improv, and it was like all these things that Bradley let them do, he was like, no, I'm going to find
those
these
drag
real
queen
drag
jokes
queens.
were not Bradley's
and I'm just going to turn the camera on. Like he made a lot of these very important decisions that I feel like someone who really wasn't passionate about a project maybe wouldn't have made. And he gave people the time to do these sorts of things. But what I was going to say is, when I don't think this is a spoiler. Stop me if it is. But when Allie gets famous, we all know she's going to get famous. We all know she's going to get famous. But when she gets famous, like she has her first sort of big, I won't spoil this, she has her first sort of big national performance. And she sings the song, and it's the first time you as an audience member hear the song, which presumably in the universe, in the movie, is a hit. And that's why she was asked to do this.
Which we'll get to in a second, because this song is wild.
And the song isn't good. And what's wild is,
but it's also good
on the soundtrack as Lindsay. It's also sort of good. On the soundtrack, there are better songs. There are better pop songs that like would have been more enjoyable as an audience member of A Star Is Born to hear, but they didn't use them. And I was talking to Josh about this over the weekend, and he was like, I think you're giving the movie too much credit. And I was like, I don't think I am. And I think that choice was extremely deliberate.
That's not,
it was like,
you are not giving the movie too much credit. That is 100%.
These decisions where it was like, we're going to kind of make her sort of pathetic, and we're going to make her sing these songs that are the lesser versions of Allie as a pop singer.
He says her lyrics back to her. That was one of the most hurtful parts, where he comes back at her and says, oh, like that stupid song, like talking about like someone's ass or whatever. Like, of course, this song's iconic, whatever. I can't wait to hear it at the club. But in the movie, it's because there's so much context around it. You see her performing it on SNL. The outfits are weird. There's something kind of off about the way that she looks. The whole movie, there's something off about the way that her character dresses as a pop star, which I thought was incredible because, again, if she had just dressed like a pop star that was popular today in the fashion that is deemed fashionable, she would have looked like Lady Gaga. That would have been really distracting. She's not Lady Gaga.
And that's what I expected.
Right.
You expected her to be a stronger parallel to Lady Gaga, like Lady Gaga turning into herself, but it absolutely is not that.
I leaned over to Stephen Avalos a few times and was like, what is she wearing? But then realized, like, no, it's genius. Like, she's dressing like...
really is.
Like, she's dressing like trash because, like, this pop star is, like, there's something up. Like, she's not authentic, and that's the whole point that they're trying to make. And I don't
Which is what makes the end of the movie so powerful. I mean, the end of the movie is powerful for a host of reasons.
I mean, the song, fuck.
The song is great, but, like, the second stage of evolution that she reaches at the end of the movie is incredibly powerful, and I was not expecting that.
I mean, we don't know what she goes on to do. Like, it's funny because it's.
But like, you have a sense.
This stripped down song, this Whitney Houston-esque Bodyguard song that everyone very correctly compares it to "I Will Always Love You." It definitely does sound like that. It was perfect. It's perfect.
It won't. I have a hard time thinking like which one will get nominated, aka which one will win, because either of those will win if it gets nominated.
Yeah.
If they get nominated, I think it's still going to be The Shallow. I was talking about this with Richard. He was like, the ballad is great, but like honestly, how can you beat The Shallow? And that's true.
Yeah,
because it is.
And they want Bradley to sing. They want Bradley up there.
It's the center of the movie.
And you just shouted out Richard, but shout out to Richard for writing a review that really gets at what I think my main problem with the way that people are receiving it is. What is the difference between a film that has camp elements of campiness, and just very emotional, right? Richard wrote that in his initial review that he wrote a while ago, kind of just about how a lot of people are going to see this as camp because it has all the elements of camp. It has songs, it has Lady Gaga, it has drag queens, it has these things, but
it has melodrama.
His argument, which was also, really like just a smart argument to make, was that can we just have an emotional movie be emotional and well done? Mm-hmm. Can we have a movie make us cry and not be camp? And it's like, I agree with that because I'm fighting left and right with people being like, like it's very campy, it's very corny, it's very cheesy. And it's like, I just don't think it is. I think it's too well done. This is the argument that I've been making, which is, if you've seen Country Strong, right? The mm-hmm. Nashville version of this, which is where Gwyneth Paltrow sings a bunch of songs and then dies. It's like, sorry, spoiler alert, she dies. That movie, the acting is bad, the songs are very bad, and it's campy, and I loved it. I love that movie, but it's campy. I know that. Like, that's, this is not that, I don't think. The quality is too good.
There's too much, and especially whenever you dig into Bradley's past and Bradley's, like, struggles with addiction, it's like, no, he was making something, like, deeply personal here.
Right. It's true.
Whatever. And also, so you should read Richard on this. You should read Kyle Buchanan on this.
In the New York Times.
Who also wrote at length about his struggle with people identifying this at camp when he found it, it's kind of exactly the opposite. But I think the only time, I gasped a few times in this movie. Very, like, genuine gasps. I think this is going to sound so stupid. The way the title comes on the screen is, like,
it's great,
gorgeous.
It's great.
It's gorgeous. And it's like, oh, and it sets up the tone so well. Like I can't remember the last time like a title treatment was so indicative of like everything to follow, where it was like a very specific creative choice. Like, we're going to do the title right now. We're going to do it just like this. And we're going to do it with this happening on screen.
Don't
like,
you think
I was
it was
like,
also,
this is great.
It was also like a super nice throwback to Judy Garland. Didn't it feel very kind of classic film?
It felt old. It felt classic.
It felt old. It felt
it
old.
was missing the little like motion picture logo
what I
at the
mean?
bottom,
Yeah.
but it had everything but that,
There was also a great Barbara. All of it felt very
The nose.
Barbara. The nose thing that kept coming back
bathtub.
and back. Yeah, the bathtub. Like it paid respects to its elders. We all know that the original Star is Born movies were not that good. So to take from them what is special and to leave what was kind of bad.
Yeah, a good movie. See it. I'm gonna see it again.
Meanwhile,
You're probably
I
gonna
gotta see it again too.
I'm thrilled.
Also, the song "Hair, Body, Face"
Hair, Body, Face
on the soundtrack, which is very briefly in the movie, but I don't even think you catch it. It's a terrible concept of a song, but one of the best bangers from the soundtrack. Love it.
It's a Fame Monster seaside.
Seaside, truly. And
it's a Fame Monster seaside, and it is
and such a
pulsing with life.
You will dream it.
They wanna know.
Hey,
Mia.
hey,
Mia.
hey. I want to be famous.
we just talked 20 minutes about that.
Yeah, great. Now that we've talked 20 minutes about A Star is Born, let's talk about Troian Bellisario and Patrick J. Adams welcoming their first child together.
I don't care.
You don't?
No.
I mean, I care for the reason you pointed out, which is that his caption was, "The world just got 8 pounds heavier." Does Patrick know that weight doesn't just like suddenly start existing once it was born? The weight existed while it was in your wife's like body.
No, it's honestly perfect. It's so it's the most nonsense way to describe giving birth.
Isn't for the most part like everything on the planet is already here? Like the world isn't really fluctuating in terms of size.
I mean, unless somebody
Isn't that
literally
kind of what's happening?
appeared out of thin air. First of all, I don't know science. Okay, ask Neri Oxman or whatever. I don't know. Okay,
I just feel like roughly like barring weather events and weird astronomical events, we're sort of within the same range of a pretty easily identifiable range of like weight on the Earth's crust all the time. Isn't that just how matter works, like mass works?
if an asteroid like landed on our Earth, the Earth,
Yeah, that changes it.
or if like just rain count or snow.
Well, yeah, because that's what I'm saying. That's all like cyclical. It's like as when it's vapor, it's not counting for the mass that's like weighing on the crust.
We're
like,
asking for someone to call and correct us about this, and
and like, oh, you don't know anything about like preservation of mass, but I just that's the craziest. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. The world just got 8 pounds heavier.
so the world.
What a weird way of saying
world
that you are now a daddy.
is 8 pounds heavier.
Going to the McDonald's drive-thru and then the person handing you the bag being like, "You just got a quarter pound heavier," or something. It's crazy.
Congratulations.
Sort of. I don't know. Or like me. Oh no. You know what? It's more.
What?
Similar to. This is a better comparison.
Sure.
If I go have my quarter pounder with cheese, then 6 hours later take a dump, and then I write, "The world just got a quarter pound heavier." That's what it's like. That is crazy. That's me being
Okay.
Patrick J. Adams.
So you should Instagram that next time you do so. So you could you could say that Troian Bellisario and Patrick J. Adams welcomed their child, but you know who was not welcome?
Meghan Markle's sister Samantha.
When she tried to visit Kensington Palace and like drop off a
Mm-hmm.
letter, it was very weird. And guess what? She's up to her old tricks because
She's up to her old tricks, but like they're new tricks. She's pulling out some new tricks. But her old tricks in that she called the photographers before she did a new trick.
Oh,
you know?
this is the oldest trick in the book for her. I mean, these photos are clear as day. It looks like the photographer, was just right in front of them holding.
Yeah, no lens, no zoom.
No
lens.
zoom. There's no zoom on these.
Hey, Sammy, you here? Sammy's here.
Smiles.
She tried to hand them the thing. They said they didn't want to give her the thing. Then when they didn't get into Kensington Palace, Did they take the letter from her? They did.
There's a photo of him handing this guard the letter. My favorite thing is there's a commenter that says, I would like to point out these photos are not of Kensington Palace gates, but from Kensington Palace Gardens, a very expensive and private street where several embassies and the mega wealthy live, hence why there is police presence. I know that area. The actual gates of Kensington Palace are the next street along and are patrolled with armed police, where she would have been arrested on the spot if she showed up and created a scene. So basically they're saying, like, this was all for show. This was,
of course it was
for show. Then they went to some mask store.
It was just a gift shop.
Like a gift shop or whatever. But they were selling masks.
Of Harry and Meghan.
And guess
probably
what?
the Queen.
She fuddled around with one.
There are really good photos of her holding it up to her face. Well, she's holding the Harry one up to her face.
She is despicable. Never forget the photos of her father searching what is England or whatever.
Castles of England or something.
Whatever he was
The History
doing.
of England. But like a History of England book that was, meant for the child of Troy and Belisario and Patrick J. Adams. Like a book meant for toddlers. You know what I will say?
What?
Riverdale's Camilla Mendez and Charles Milton are dating.
You don't say.
I will say.
You don't.
You know how we know?
Because Just Jared said.
No, because Camilla, 24, posted a photo with Charles, 27, on Instagram, and the picture shows Charles planting a kiss on Camilla, and Camilla captioned the photo with, quote, mine.
Wow. Well, that says it all, doesn't it? What else is there to say? These two. He plays, I don't know. Who's he? Do you know? I watched the show. I don't know. Is he the one who replaced the guy? No, that's another guy.
No,
Is he the
didn't
one
replace.
who's friends with Courtney Love, not friends with? No, that's the other guy. She, I know, is Veronica.
She's Veronica.
He, I'm unsure. He's someone.
When you type in Charles M, the suggestion is Charles Manson. He is Reggie.
Reggie. Oh, that's a big character.
He's Reggie.
Yeah, I know. He's a big character.
He's Reggie.
Okay. Speaking of, did you know Gina Gershon's joining the cast of Riverdale?
You know what? I love that. I love her so much. Speaking of the CW, let's do some talking. Lindsay, what show are you excited about this week?
I mean, as you know, I love sports. But I don't like watching sports. I just like the concept of sports. And I like when TV shows and movies do sports in the small amount of time and tell me exactly what's going on via other visual cues,
Yeah, I hate watching sports, but I like watching things about sports.
But I like the high drama and intensity of sports. So I do like when they're in other pieces that I can fully understand.
Yeah. What do I love? Friday Night Lights. What do I love? Field of Dreams. What do I love? What's the basketball? Hoosiers. Hoosiers?
You do?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I love those movies about those sports, but I do not like watching those real sports.
Right,
It's kind of it's like a fantasy.
Sometimes I watch those movies, I'm like, oh, D2 Mighty Ducks loved it, or like Little Giants loved it, and then I think I'm like, oh, I maybe would like real sports. Like, oh, I should go watch like the sport that this show does, and then I try, and I'm like, what? No, absolutely not. Why did I think
hate this? Which is what we're saying is All American is a new sports show on the CW. And we love it because we don't have to play the sport.
No, or watch the sport. I mean, it's the best version of the sport. So take your favorite, like, let's say we got the OC, Welcome to the OC, bitch, plus Friday Night Lights. What's a Friday Night Lights catchphrase?
Clear hearts, something can't lose.
Wow, you already forgot it?
Clear hearts.
Full hearts.
Full hearts.
Full hearts, clear
full
eyes.
Hearts,
clear eyes, full hearts.
Can't lose.
Is
That's
it
probably
clear
wrong,
eyes?
but it's close.
It sounds like
clear
clear
hearts. Queer hearts. Full guys. Can't lose.
Oh my God, if it was Queer Hearts, Full Guys, we would. So take the OC, add in a dash of Friday Night Lights, and you've got All American, new show on CW that we're pumped about.
But then you sprinkle in a whole lot of Taye Diggs.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's like
All American.
It's like, what's missing here? Taye Diggs. So basically, you want to like talk about the plot, kind of where we start in All American.
A little bit,
in case
a little
people
bit,
are
but
curious. Give them a taste.
We're convinced it'll become a Themmy show. Number one, because it's so easily described and because it reminds us of two very Themmy shows. But basically it's like this kid, he's like a hotshot football player, but he's at like a bad public school. And then Taye Diggs works as a coach for like the good public school in LA. It's Beverly High School, is that what it is? And he's like, hey, I want you to come play for my team because I think you're the best and I want the best for you. And I was like you growing up. And if you come to Beverly, like your life is set and you'll probably be in the NBA.
But then what
NFL.
happens to like from a kid from like the other side of the tracks, quote unquote, comes to like the rich school, yeah.
And everyone's like, we hate you.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
We hate you so immediately. So there's immediately tension, which is great. It's very Ben, what's his name?
Ben McKenzie.
It's very Ryan.
Ben McKenzie.
It's very
or
Ben
whatever.
McKenzie shows up at the OC and everyone's like, ew, gross. So same thing happens, but meanwhile, Taye Diggs is like, I want the best for you. Taye Diggs is like also very rich and like has a family, and you don't really know what his intentions are. I don't personally.
No, you definitely don't, because it's Taye Diggs, and like you never know.
There's something sneaky going on, and I'm not sure what it is.
It's true.
For those of you who don't know who Taye Diggs is, what's wrong with you? He's iconic.
It's true.
Number one, because he was once married to Idina Menzel. They're no longer married, right? Didn't they break up?
They divorced, yes.
They divorced, aka Adele Dazeem. Number two, because he follows you on Twitter. Doesn't he follow everyone on Twitter?
That was like the thing about him for a while. Like somebody was just following all these people on his Twitter and Instagram accounts as like some sort of social media thing. But then it became like a worldwide phenomenon where everyone was like, oh, Taye Diggs follows me on Twitter. Oh, Taye Diggs follows me on Twitter. And then they asked Taye Diggs and he was like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that, but cool.
I have a list of his whoiest roles and his themiest roles. Tell me if you agree.
Okay.
His whoiest roles, House on Haunted Hill.
Sure.
Right? The Way of the Gun. Ryan Felipe was in that. Like, who cares?
I don't remember that.
Malibu's Most Wanted.
Didn't
Who's
see
in
that.
that? Jamie Kennedy. Equilibrium.
Never even heard of that.
Who he's in with Lucy Liu. She comes back later. Baggage Claim, which I think, didn't I see that with you?
Loved Baggage Claim.
Maybe. With Paula Patton.
It's hooey, but I loved it so much. And I remember being like, this is a perfect rom-com. It is a perfect rom-com.
Then his themiest roles. This is undeniable.
Sure.
Rent.
Don't forget.
He debuted in Rent.
Yeah, he was in the...
He was original Rent.
He was the original Rent, and he was in the movie.
How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
Amazing. One of it, probably his
He's
best
why
role.
Stella Got Her Groove Back. Yeah, absolutely. Especially in terms of like full look. Like just his most iconic look.
His full look, yeah. We love a full look.
Go. I'm not a huge Go fan. I know a lot of people aren't
Katie
you?
Holmes. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it.
Ally McBeal.
Duh.
He had like an arc on Ally McBeal. Huge. Best Man and Best Man Holiday. We talk about Best Man Holiday all the time.
Love Best Man Holiday.
It's Who Weekly Canon. And then most recently Set It Up.
Set It Up.
A great rom-com. Very sweet. We talked about it at length a while ago. So those are probably the themiest. Am I missing anything?
No, but let's talk about some of the
terms of
newer who's maybe will become thems who are in this show.
Okay. Well, my favorite thing, I'm going to start. My favorite thing is Daniel Ezra. He's the main guy. So he's the kid who's like, I'm from this other school
Yes.
and I'm going to come to this school. He's really good at football. He's a whom, which is fun. He's British. He hasn't been in many things. He's like very new because again, these are actors playing high
These
school
are newer
students, so it's
people.
not-
These
they're
are
not
newer
big.
people. No, not Disney people. Newer people.
Do you recognize the next person?
I don't. Her name's Samantha Logan. I know she's from Boston, but I don't know her. And she was on The Fosters, and I also don't know her from that either. But I'm happy that she's here.
Karima Westbrook. She plays, I think, Daniel's mother, and she was in Save the Last Dance.
I mean, the next person on the list you have is Jordan Belfi, who you claim was in Entourage, but like, what was he in Entourage? I have no idea.
I don't know. That's why he's a who.
Okay, great.
Look at his face. If you look at his face, you'd be like, oh, that guy, he was in Entourage. I saw him, and I was like, he was in Entourage.
Okay, that's
I was
incredible.
right.
That's really sad that you can do that. That's a bad game that you can excel at.
A new game. Look at someone and say yes or no whether or not they were in Entourage. But if they were in Entourage, you're supposed to go, oh, yeah.
Okay, I have to cut you off. So the next person, though, is like a big person to younger people, maybe not to us, like a who to us, but like I think of them to a lot of kids, because it's this guy named Cody Christian who was in Teen Wolf and Pretty Little Liars, which I feel like if you're in Teen Wolf and Pretty Little Liars, you're like, that's the like Venn diagram of like being extremely famous to a teenager.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like, isn't he one of the asshole kids in it?
Yeah, I
He's
think
like,
so.
Go back to your high school. Breezy, she plays his like old best friend who's still at the other school.
Yeah.
So she's sort of like a moral center.
Yeah, she was on Empire.
Yeah, she's like, don't forget your past. Yeah, she's from Empire. You'll recognize her immediately. I think those are all the people.
All right.
Are you gonna watch this? I am.
I mean, I watched the pilot they gave us, and I'm just ready to keep going. Check out All American coming this Wednesday on the CW, October 10th at 9/8 Central.
This is really stupid, and you know because we talk about the same people over and over again. That's fine. That's expected. There are some people who just deliver a bounty every week.
And sometimes their stories continue. We need to just update you guys.
But we don't like talking about entirely old who's for an entire episode. We need to pepper in new who's. And so one of today's new who's is someone named Sully Bush. Sully Bush. We've never talked about her. She's sort of an overlooked member of the Bush family, as in, yes, the political Bushes. George H.W., George W., Barbara. What's her name? Laura Bush, Lauren?
Yes.
Lauren. Sully is connected to George H.W. Bush, the elder Bush, Poppy Bush. She's not the niece. She's not a sister. She is the service dog. Sally H.W. Bush
Sally.
shares her...
Stop calling her Sally.
Sally. Sally Bush is just a better name.
Dog named
Sully
is weird. It's Sully Bush.
Sully Bush, yes, is a very sweet dog. She is a service dog. She keeps her owner safe and comforted. But even though she's a service dog whose entire reason for being is to help others. She's a bit of a troublemaker, and let me tell you why.
Yeah, she's got a big mouth, that's Sully Bush.
Has got a big-ass mouth, that bitch. So she...
Bitch used correctly, thank you.
She revealed some kind of private news on her Instagram account over the weekend.
Oh, she has an Instagram account?
She has hit Sully H.W. Bush. No one knew that Barbara Bush was getting married to actor Craig Coyne on Sunday at the Bush family manor in Kennebunkport. But guess what? Sully revealed this wedding was happening, or at least hinted at it, when no one knew that Barbara Bush was getting married on Sunday. And so she sort of doxed it. Sully.
So the dog...
Yeah,
the dog revealed.
If you had been following Sully, you would have known before the general public.
Sully is on the fast track to becoming a social media star. He already has his own Instagram page, Sully H.W. Bush.
So, apparently the New York Times found out about Neri Oxman. Meanwhile, I've been over here talking about Neri Oxman for years.
No, I got flags that say Neri Oxman on them. I wave them outside my window sometimes, just so people don't forget.
Whenever anyone mentions science, I'm like, oh, you mean Neri Oxman? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, she's just a science person I know. And I don't know her. I just know of her.
At the wedding, someone was like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm not a scientist like Neri Oxman. I'm just a writer and podcaster.
No one did that at your own.
No one did that.
At your own wedding.
Well, I'm no scientist like Neri Oxman. Imagine that being an answer to a question.
Neri Oxman, MIT. Why are we talking about her? She works at MIT. She's a scientist. She was once rumored to have been dating Brad Pitt. That was this big thing for a while. It was really funny because the tabloids didn't know what she did, one, and also could not deal with her existence too, right? Now
because they were remember, because she had Beauty and Brains and everyone was shook.
Oh my God, she was the original Beauty and Brains.
She was one of the first Beauty and Brains.
Let's not lie.
Was she number one?
She still has Beauty and Brains. This does not take away from that. She maybe was not dating Bradley Pitt.
She's got the 3 Bs. She's got Beauty, Brains, and bullshit, because the New York Times, bless their hearts, they're late to the party here, but also because they're New York Times, they did a little more digging.
They came with the facts is what I was going to say.
They came with the facts. And the thing about Neri Oxman is the more facts you learn, the less you actually know, because they approached her job way more seriously than, the likes of Us Weekly and People, and in doing so, made her job even more confounding. It's completely ridiculous what they say about her in this piece.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question though?
What?
She says, they say, this past spring, Brad Pitt also reached out in a visit to the media lab that inflamed the internet. They are not dating. Dr. Oxman said that emphatically. Her real world boyfriend is William A. Ackman, the contrarian hedge funder. I didn't click that, but it is linked. What does that mean? What's a contrarian hedge funder? Anyways, he lives in Manhattan.
I have no idea. He's rich.
Some rich guy. Bobby really got a kick out of this article because...
It doesn't make any sense. Let me read this.
Yeah.
A caption of some sort of, I don't know, it looks like a honeycomb. I don't know. It looks like a honeycomb. It's this very organic material that's glowing, but I can't tell if it's, emitting the light on its own accord or if there's a light in there. But the caption is, material ecology, which is her specialty. I don't know what that means. Material ecology marries the technological advances of computational design, synthetic biology, and 3D printing to produce startling-looking multifunctional structures like these sheaves of chitin, a compostable material derived from shrimp shells. In the foreground, silkworms are spinning on tiny platforms. It's like, what? I feel uncomfortable when people ask what I do, and I'm like, oh, I have a worthless job. How in the hell does she keep a straight face? Because what is this? What is this?
I don't know.
Other line.
Again, I'm no Neri Oxman. I have no idea what is going on here ever.
This other thing, but it's like, oh, they serve so many purposes. But then the article's like, their art, they're so beautiful. But then it says, wait for this. The bacteria, she says, is known as the workhorse of synthetic biology, which basically means you can make it do anything. Okay, it can do anything. Charismatic and epigrammatic, Dr. Oxman speaks as if in capital letters and long, enticing musical paragraphs. Again, New York Times cannot deal with a smart woman. What does it mean to design a living object, she says. How do we accommodate for dimensional mismatches between environmental constraints, light, load, and the material? How do you have a single material system that is multifunctional, that is not made of parts, and that can vary over space and time for different conditions? Can you make architecture that behaves like a tree? And it says yes, as it turns out, as she explained in her charismatic 2015 TED Talk, which now has over 2 million views. The following year, Bjork came calling. That's where I sign out of this story. That's like where I close the tab.
Right,
and I'm
because
like,
you finally
I'm gonna leave it to
understand a
Neri.
word, and you're like, not something I'm in the journey. This is not my
The
journey.
word is Bjork. The word is Bjork.
they
Remember when
also-
Bjork?
this-
Remember when Bjork explained how a TV works? That's Neri Oxman explaining how everything works.
So you become hypnotized. So all that's on TV, it just goes directly into your brain, and you stop judging if it's right or not. So you just swallow and swallow. This is what an Icelandic poet told me once, and I became so scared to television that I always got headaches when I watched it. But then later on, when I got my Danish book on television, I stopped being afraid because I read the truth, and that's the scientific truth, which is much better. You shouldn't let poets lie to you.
Okay, want to hear where I tuned out of the article, where I stopped reading?
Yes, tell me.
She also had some fun with the paparazzi stalked out in front of the media lab. As she left work during that pit period, she made sure to brandish a copy of the Feynman Lectures, a famous physics textbook, and the Golden Record, the audio time capsule, in the form of an LP, otherwise known as an album or record, thank you, New York Times, that went to Mars in 1977, in a subversive plug for Team Science. Quote, the Golden Record beats the caviar quilted flat bag on any given day. I don't know I guess the bag that she normally carries, she says. Toting the ultimate message to Moon was my message in a bottle to the paparazzi. I
can't stand
I was
her.
like, all right, Neri Oxman.
This is what happens to someone's personality when for their entire life they are told by every other person on the street, you have beauty and brains. Oh, you are so beautiful, but you're so smart. And then she's like, well, I'm so beautiful and I'm so smart, and I'm just gonna say nonsense. People are just gonna think I'm so smart.
Hair, body, face. Beauty, brains, science. Wait, I don't know what the last one would be.
Hair, beauty, brains. I think it's
hair,
just hair, beauty, brains.
it'd be still hair.
Yeah, because she's got hair. She does have hair. Beauty, brains.
You know who else got married this weekend aside from you and apparently a Bush? Well, a 34-year-old Cheetah alum who tied the knot with
Cheetah Girl alum.
love. Oh, she's not just a cheetah; she's a Cheetah Girl. She tied the knot with longtime love Jordan Lundberg. What's interesting is they got married at Wayne Newton's home. That is why you couldn't get married at Wayne Newton's home, because it was booked because the Cheetah Girl was getting married there because they appeared on Dancing with the Stars together.
What's really even more interesting than the facts you gave me is the fact that you didn't even give that Cheetah Girl's name because you don't know it. And I guarantee you don't remember who it is. You just pasted in the lead of the story.
I have no idea what her name is. Are you kidding me? Like, as if...
I saw you try to, sneak this story in without even giving this girl's name.
What's her name?
I don't know.
Oh, so because I didn't link it, we'll never know. I'm not finding it. Are you trying to search, Cheetah Girl married?
I typed in Cheetah Girl married. Sabrina Bryan.
Great.
I didn't even recognize this Cheetah Girl.
She's not the ones I know, which is what's her face?
Raven?
No. Oh, I know her too. I'm talking about Bailan.
Adrienne Bailan.
Was she a Cheetah Girl? Searching. Name of Cheetah Girls. Cheetah Girls names. I hear you typing. What are you searching?
Cheetah Girls were Raven Simone, Adrienne Bailan, Sabrina Bryan. Can you name number 3? Number 4.
No.
We got Raven right. We got Adrienne right.
No.
Sabrina Bryan, we did not know, but we got her.
Jessica, Stacy, Alexa, Marion.
Can't do this again.
Keely. Oh, she was in 3LW.
Keely Williams,
She's the girl with the lisp from 3LW.
Promises.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, wow.
I'm getting a little tired of your broken promises. Looking at your pages, seeing different numbers and numbers.
We knew that, but didn't know it. Let's move on.
We're getting mixed messages here. And once again, I want to point out that just a couple of weeks ago, what did we say? We see Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin are in it to win it. They're in it for the long haul. We expected them to get married. But guess what we got before we got a marriage? We got a gender reveal.
Okay, so this came via TMZ alert. Alert said Chris Martin, Dakota Johnson are having a baby, star-studded gender reveal party. So that's wild because that's so much news, right? We didn't know they were getting married. We didn't know they were engaged. We didn't know they were pregnant. We don't know anything. Meanwhile, we know that they're having a boy, apparently, according to TMZ.
According to the balloons.
So this is what their evidence was. They said blue and pink balloons were tied down in arches as their celeb friends arrived. So, right, Dakota's folks came. That's Melanie and Dawn.
Julia
along
Roberts
with
is
Sean
there.
Penn and Julia Roberts. And the guy from Shameless for some reason, unsure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then about 10 minutes after Dawn got there, because he was last, says TMZ, I don't know, the string of blue balloons was released into the sky. So everyone's saying, like, from what I've seen in terms of gender reveal parties, it's a boy, because that's what happens. To be fair, there's a lot of different rules for these gender reveal parties. I hate all of them. They're very silly, these parties. Sorry, no offense to anyone who's had one. But they're crazy, you know? Pop a balloon.
So TMZ...
Shoot a gun.
TMZ calls it... Yeah.
Cut a cake. I don't know.
Make something explode. Yeah. Point is, TMZ said it was a gender reveal party and that it's blue, which means she's probably giving birth to a boy at some point in the future. Then Just Jared comes out of the left field and is like, I have a correction. It's not a gender reveal party. Our sources, who knew Just Jared had sources and not just access to photo streams? Just Jared's sources tell them that it was just a birthday party and not a gender reveal party. Presumably Dakota Johnson's birthday, because she just turned, like, her birthday was a couple days ago.
I want to reiterate, this just happened, like literally like an hour ago. So this is as of Monday, October 8th at 4 p.m. These are the two reports we have. TMZ with the truth about a gender reveal party, and Just Jared with the press release about it not being a gender reveal party, it being a birthday party. Meanwhile, pink and blue balloons. I saw these balloons in a photo. Those are not birthday balloons.
You don't get pink and blues, and you don't...
They wouldn't be so high up in the sky.
You don't let go of one specific color. It's not like just a flurry of random balloons was let go, like some blues and some pinks. It was deliberate. All the blues were let go and they went into the sky. That's what happens with a gender reveal party. Also, these people, speaking of our dwindling natural resources, these people need to stop using helium for balloons because we need them for MRIs.
Okay, are you done?
I'm done.
So, okay. Back to this story. Do you believe TMZ or Just Jared?
What do you think? I believe TMZ.
It's true. Can you imagine not believing TMZ over Just Jared? Who sent...
Also, you know what I think?
Do you think they sent Jared the press release, to deny it as quickly as possible?
You know why I think that this is true?
Why?
This is a stupid reason, but let's just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
The reason I believe that it's a gender reveal party is that, think of the timing, who just got married.
Oh, I know. We cut it from our last episode. Don't worry,
Gwyneth Paltrow and Brad Falchuk just got married, which means they're on their honeymoon right now, which means they're not in town, which is a perfect time to have a gender reveal party. When the ex isn't here.
As every tabloid reported, Chris did not go to that wedding. It only had 4 people at it. One was Jerry Seinfeld and his wife. So they were like, where's Chris Martin during this wedding? Everyone was he's at some concert.
A charity concert.
So now it's like, oh, where is Gwyneth during this baby reveal party? Oh,
honeymoon.
She's on her honeymoon. So leave her alone.
Dakota was like, let's wait until they're, in Ibiza or something.
Right. I believe it. I believe it too. I mean, I think knowing what's happening.
She's been so busy, in terms of just I'm not going to, she just finished, she's about to release 2 big fall movies, Suspiria and Bad Times at the El Royale. She probably just filmed 1 billion movies in a row, and she finally is done with the press tour. She's like, okay, I have the time to be pregnant right now.
Love when you find the time to be pregnant.
Anyway, God, that whole fucking wacky family.
It's so wacky. Watching Sean Penn and Melanie Griffith in paparazzi photos just hang out in front of a car was a wild ride for me.
Watching Julia Roberts carry a stack of Ziploc freezer bags filled with God knows what into this thing. What did Julia Roberts bake? I think they were cookies.
Bobby earlier was just like, oh my, this photo of Julia Roberts carrying Ziploc bags?
Gigantic freezer bags. If Julia Roberts came into my house with gigantic freezer bags filled with baked goods, beautiful looking cookies, I would not eat them.
Yeah.
I would put them in the freezer and I'd send them to a lab for testing, because I would be like, what is she trying to do here?
Okay, relax. This is not like Erin Brockovich, opposite of Erin Brockovich.
Okay.
So
it's time for Rita.
No, it's not. We need to do one more thing. Did you see K. Michelle's Instagram?
I saw K. Michelle's Instagram. K. Michelle.
This better be a viral ad for the Ring doorbell, because I'm going to buy one. This is an amazing Instagram.
I hope it's an ad for Ring doorbell. Read it? Because this makes me want a Ring doorbell so bad. I'm not, just enjoy this caption. Go watch it, because this doesn't work without the visual. Here we go. K. Michelle music. I don't know who this lady is that keeps ringing my doorbell every day. We don't want none of what you're selling. I had to be the voice of reason. She didn't know I could speak to her wherever I'm at from my phone, because that's what the Ring does. I don't play about privacy at my house. Do not disrespect my house, Little Bo Peep. That's so good. Don't come back either. Crying, laughing, crying, laughing, crying, laughing. #fab. Thank God for the Ring security doorbell. I know when there is any motion on my property. Crying, laughing, 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 crying, laughing. I'm not mad though. I was playing with her. I was in tears laughing. She didn't know where that voice was coming from. What does K. Michelle yell at this woman who is loitering, no soliciting?
Get the fuck off my porch! Get your ass off this motherfucking porch, bitch!
K. Michelle, we haven't even talked about her, but she's like one of our favorites.
Well, she's great because she's a former Love and Hip Hop person who actually had good music. So before Cardi B, the musical success story from Love and Hip Hop was K. Michelle, but then Cardi B eclipsed her very quickly, and K. Michelle got left in the wind. K. Michelle's like an R&B singer, has a beautiful voice, sort of has a very classic, she's very candid about it, but has this sort of classic, they loved my voice. It's very Ally Main from Star is Born, honestly.
Wow. No, she's a beautiful voice. She has a beautiful voice,
but it's like people kept dicking her over. She has great songs, but it's like she just kept being told like, this isn't right about you, this isn't right about you, this isn't right about you. Then she released a few amazing bops. Actually, her recent album is great. I think we talked about it maybe on the podcast that came out this year. Her best song is Vsop, an amazing song.
Oh, love Vsop.
She's very open about, another great thing about K. Michelle, she's very open about all the plastic surgery she's had, all the plastic surgery she's had reversed.
She got 4 surgeries to remove her butt implants. One of the first people to like talk about that. Her Instagram is like 99% talk about my surgery and health, 1% like doorbell antics. So like come for the doorbell antics, stay for the surgery and health.
Get your ass off this motherfucking porch, bitch!
Yes, and now it's time for Rita.
What was she wearing? Where was she seen? She posted what on Instagram? She's the Who Queen. Tens of people want to know all about the number one Who. Lindsay, Bobby, tell us now. What's Rita Ora up to?
Who is this woman?
Lindsay, what's she up to?
Let me tell you, did you know that Rita Ora is the... Rita Ora set a UK chart record for the most top 10 singles by a British female artist.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
That's number 1.
She overtook Petula Clark of Downtown fame, and behind Rita and Shirley and Petula, Shirley Bassey and Petula Clark are Jess Glynn, Olivia Newton-John, Emily Sandé, and Dusty Springfield.
Dusty Springfield.
And Dusty Springfield.
It's great. She's number 1.
I know. Crazy.
I think that's great. That's a real record. That's not a fake record.
So we could say that people in England know who Rita is at this point. If they don't, they don't listen to the radio, I guess.
Yeah, they don't listen to BBC One or whatever.
Rita also, speaking of England and Rita, she signed some letter that was like warning against Brexit madness that Bob Geldof wrote. But I love this.
I love when she gets political.
But I love that like the headline, it's like all these celebrities co-signed this letter by Bob Geldof that he published in The Observer. It includes
like Theresa May,
Sheeran,
you're the
Jarvis
worst.
Cocker, basically like name British people, they signed this, you know? And the headline pulls out, this is Billboard, shout out Billboard for pulling out the 3 names, Bob Geldof, Rita Ora, Ed Sheeran, as the top 3 most important people who signed this anti-Brexit, this Brexit madness.
That's great. That's
letter.
definitely, that's an Easter egg. That's an Easter egg.
Proud of her. She also posed for some magazine.
She got top billing. She got billed over Ed Sheeran in that headline.
Over The Clash, over Sting, over Neil Tennant.
Brian Eno.
Pink Floyd drummer Nick Mason. She's a legend.
She is. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Call us at 619-WHO-THEM. Leave a message. And as you know, we've been doing flashback episodes. So just because we don't play your call now, we might play it in 9 months.
Yeah,
12 months, 16
somebody's
months.
going on a little vacation. So maybe coming up soon.
Yeah, maybe coming up soon. And I think with that, we're done. Please watch the CW this fall. They're great. God, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And with that, we're done. So we will talk to you on Friday. Bye.
Bye.
You will dream it.
Yo, they wanna know.
Hey,
Mia.
hey,
Mia.
hey. I want to be famous.
Beauty, brains. Beauty, brains. Today's episode of Who Weekly is brought to you by the CW. Don't miss the premiere of All American, starring Taye Diggs, Wednesday at 9/8 Central.